Olive oil, the foundation of Mediterranean cooking. The olive tree was first cultivated in the Mediterranean region approximately 6,000 years ago, making olive oil one of the oldest cooking fats in continuous use by human beings. The Minoans of Crete were among the earliest peoples to press olives into oil, and they recognized its versatility immediately, using it for food, medicine, cosmetics, and lamp fuel simultaneously. By the height of the Roman Empire, olive oil had become so economically important that it functioned as a form of currency, and Roman expansion deliberately spread olive cultivation across the territories they controlled. The word oil, in English, traces its etymology directly back to the Greek word for olive oil, a linguistic legacy of just how dominant this single product was in the ancient Mediterranean world. The quality hierarchy of olive oil is defined by how the oil is extracted and what chemical and sensory characteristics it possesses. When olives are pressed for the first time, using purely mechanical pressure, without any application of heat or chemical solvents, the result is unrefined oil in its most natural state. If that oil meets strict chemical standards, specifically a free acidity of no more than 0.8%, and passes a professional sensory evaluation with no detectable flavor defects, it earns the designation extra virgin. If it clears a slightly looser threshold of up to 2% acidity with minor flavor flaws, it is classified simply as virgin olive oil. These two grades are the only ones considered genuinely unrefined. Anything sold as plain olive oil or light olive oil has been chemically refined to eliminate defects, a process that simultaneously strips out most of the flavor compounds and beneficial polyphenols that make high-quality olive oil worth using. Butter, from accident to culinary cornerstone. The discovery of butter was almost certainly accidental. Early nomadic peoples carried animal milk in bags made from animal skins, and the churning motion of travel gradually separated the fat from the liquid, causing it to clump together into something that was not milk but was surprisingly good to eat. This makes butter one of the earliest processed foods in human history, a product that no one designed but that proved so useful it became essential. Ancient Irish communities valued butter so highly that they buried it in peat bogs for preservation. The cold, low-oxygen, acidic environment of the bog kept it edible for extraordinary lengths of time, while the unique chemistry slowly transformed the flavor into something distinctly different from fresh butter. In Hindu tradition, butter occupies a place of genuine reverence. The god Krishna is known across the subcontinent as the butter thief, a beloved figure from his childhood stories who could not resist stealing it from the neighbors. Romans, by contrast, held butter in low regard, associating it with the northern tribal peoples they considered barbarians and preferring olive oil for nearly all culinary applications. Butter is a composition of approximately 80% fat, 16% water, and a small quantity of milk proteins and sugars. The interplay of these components gives butter its characteristic richness and the creamy texture that makes it irreplaceable in baking, where it contributes to the rise, the tenderness, and the flavor of everything from croissants to shortbread. The presence of water and milk solids, however, is also what makes butter burn easily. Those components scorch at relatively low temperatures, which is why butter performs best at medium heat for sautéing and sauce finishing rather than at the high temperatures demanded by deep frying. In France especially, butter became the cornerstone of classical cooking, the foundation of the grand sauce tradition, the defining ingredient of a vast category of pastry, and its status as a premium ingredient in French gastronomy remains entirely uncontested. Coconut oil, the tree of life. In the islands of Polynesia and across Southeast Asia, the coconut palm has been called the tree of life for centuries, and that description is not hyperbole. The tree provides food, water, building materials, and medicine, and the oil extracted from its meat has been a fundamental cooking fat across these regions for thousands of years. Coconut oil is produced either from fresh coconut meat, a method that yields virgin coconut oil with a distinctly tropical aroma and a clean, sweet flavor, or from dried coconut meat, known as copra, which is processed into a more refined, flavor-neutral product used when coconut character is not wanted in a dish. What distinguishes coconut oil from most vegetable oils chemically is its very high saturated fat content. This is what makes it solid at room temperature and unusually stable for a plant-derived oil. It has been embraced in keto and paleo dietary communities primarily because it is rich in medium-chain fatty acids, especially lauric acid, which the body metabolizes differently from long-chain fats. The nutritional science remains genuinely contested, with different studies producing different conclusions, but the culinary case for coconut oil needs no qualification. It is an excellent frying and sautéing medium with a pleasant flavor that integrates naturally into the dishes of the regions that have relied on it longest. In South Indian and Sri Lankan cooking, coconut oil brings a subtle richness to traditional preparations that no other fat replicates accurately. In the Philippines, it is integral to dishes like pinakbet, where it is the preferred fat for frying vegetables with shrimp paste, and its tropical aroma is considered essential rather than incidental to the result. In Western baking, it found a new audience as a vegan substitute for butter, where its solid at room temperature quality allows it to function similarly in certain recipes. In Fiji, local tradition holds that coconuts have eyes and choose who they fall on, and that being struck by one brings 3 days of misfortune. Truffle oil, the great culinary fraud. Truffle oil occupies an unusual position in the world of cooking fats. It is wildly popular and, in its most common form, almost universally disliked by serious cooks. The fundamental problem is straightforward. The overwhelming majority of truffle oil sold globally contains no actual truffles. Instead, it is a neutral carrier oil infused with a single synthetic aromatic compound, typically 2,4-dithiapentane, that mimics one of the hundreds of volatile compounds found in real truffles. The result smells recognizably truffle-adjacent but tastes thin, chemical, and one-dimensional, with a tendency to tip from aromatic into something closer to rubber or petroleum when used in excess. Truffle oil became fashionable in the 1980s as an affordable shortcut for making modest dishes feel luxurious, and its popularity in restaurants spread quickly. Professional chefs turned against it with notable vehemence. Anthony Bourdain dismissed it as not food. Gordon Ramsay pointed out that its aggressive synthetic smell overwhelms every other flavor on a plate. Martha Stewart called it hideous. Genuine truffle oil, made by macerating real truffle pieces in quality oil, does exist, but it is expensive, has a short shelf life as its aromatics fade, and represents a tiny fraction of what is sold under the truffle oil label. In 2017, a US company was sued for implying their truffle oil contained real truffles, and DNA testing confirmed it was almost entirely synthetic. Despite its poor reputation among professionals, it remains extremely popular with consumers on everything from French fries to popcorn. Mustard oil, pungency, power, and ritual. Mustard oil is the defining cooking fat of much of South Asia, foundational to Bengali, Punjabi, and Kashmiri cooking in particular, and its sharp, intensely pungent character is precisely what makes it irreplaceable in these culinary traditions. Pressed from the same mustard seeds used to make the condiment, it has been cultivated and pressed for oil across the Indian subcontinent for thousands of years. India produces the vast majority of the world's mustard oil, and beyond its culinary role, it is embedded in cultural and religious life, used to light lamps in Hindu and Sikh ceremonies symbolizing the triumph of light over darkness, applied in pre-wedding rituals as a blessing, and used therapeutically in winter for warming body massages that ease joint pain in the cold months of northern India. In its raw state, mustard oil has a fierce, almost nose-clearing pungency that startled Western regulatory bodies enough to restrict its culinary sale in North America and the European Union, where it is technically approved only as a massage oil despite being openly used in South Asian home kitchens throughout both regions. When the oil is heated, Indian cooks typically bring it to its smoke point before adding other ingredients. That raw sharpness transforms almost entirely into a round, nutty, sweetly savory depth that is one of the more complex flavor profiles any cooking fat can offer. Its smoke point is approximately 480 degrees Fahrenheit, making it one of the most heat-stable cooking oils available for sustained high-temperature applications. Canola oil, a modern invention. Canola oil is a genuinely recent creation, the product of deliberate plant breeding in Canada during the 1960s and 70s rather than centuries of accumulated tradition. Its ancestor, rapeseed, had been cultivated across Asia and Europe for thousands of years primarily as a lamp oil. During the Second World War, it acquired industrial importance as a lubricant for naval steam engines because it adhered to metal surfaces even in the presence of water and heat. When diesel engines replaced steam after the war, demand for rapeseed oil collapsed, but Canadian agricultural researchers identified an opportunity by selectively breeding out the toxic and bitter compounds that made rapeseed oil unpleasant to eat. They produced a new edible variety and named it canola, short for Canadian oil. The oil that resulted is characterized above all by what it lacks: flavor, aroma, and color. This neutrality is its primary commercial virtue. Canola oil does not impose any character on a dish, allowing other ingredients to speak without interference. Its smoke point sits around 400 degrees Fahrenheit, making it suitable for most cooking applications including stir-frying and deep-frying. Its relatively low saturated fat content and reasonable omega-3 to omega-6 ratio gave it favorable nutritional coverage during the decades when dietary fat science was shifting away from animal fats. Cold-pressed and expeller-pressed versions are meaningfully less refined than standard commercial canola and worth seeking out for everyday home cooking. Sesame oil, ghee, and the ancient tradition. Sesame oil may be the oldest plant-derived cooking oil in human history. Cultivation of sesame and extraction of its oil dates to the Indus Valley Civilization around 2500 BCE, and it was traded as far as Mesopotamia. In ancient Indian medical tradition, it was known as the king of oils, valued for its calming properties and its effects on the skin. Light sesame oil, pressed from raw seeds, is a relatively neutral cooking oil with a gentle flavor and a high smoke point, used in South Asian and some African cooking. Toasted sesame oil is an entirely different proposition. Pressed from roasted seeds, it is one of the most intensely aromatic substances in any kitchen, dark amber in color and so powerful in flavor that a single teaspoon fundamentally transforms a dish. In Korean, Japanese, and Chinese cooking, it is used almost exclusively as a finishing oil, added after cooking to deliver concentrated roasted sesame character. The oil contains natural antioxidants called sesamol and sesamine that make it unusually resistant to rancidity. Ghee, which originated in the Indus Valley as a practical solution to butter spoiling in tropical heat, is made by cooking butter slowly until all the water evaporates and the milk solids separate and brown. What remains is a pure, shelf-stable fat with a distinctive nutty, caramel-scented flavor and a smoke point high enough for searing meat and frying eggs. Because the milk proteins and lactose are removed in the process, many people with dairy sensitivities can use ghee without difficulty. Across India, ghee carries religious significance as well as culinary centrality. It is used in temple rituals, offered to sacred fires, and incorporated into festivals and ceremonies throughout the Hindu calendar. Argan oil, liquid gold from the Moroccan desert. Argan oil is produced exclusively from the nuts of a tree that grows nowhere else on Earth except a specific region of southwestern Morocco. The argan tree has adapted over millennia to the harsh, semi-arid conditions of this landscape, and its cultivation is so deeply interwoven with Berber culture that the argan forests of Morocco were designated a UNESCO Biosphere Reserve in 1998. Producing the oil is extraordinarily labor-intensive. The argan fruit must be harvested, the thick outer pulp removed, the hard inner nut cracked by hand to extract the seeds, which are then cold-pressed to release the oil. A single liter requires approximately 30 kilograms of fruit and 15 hours of manual labor, which is why argan oil commands prices that have earned it the name liquid gold in Morocco. Two distinct forms exist for two entirely different purposes. Cosmetic argan oil is made from unroasted seeds and produces a light, odorless oil that absorbs rapidly into skin and hair. Culinary argan oil is made from lightly roasted seeds, yielding a warm amber product with a deeply toasty, nutty flavor carrying notes of sesame and dark chocolate. In Moroccan cuisine, it is used as a finishing oil in amlou, a thick, honey-sweetened paste of argan oil and almonds eaten at breakfast spread over bread, and drizzled over couscous and salads. The global boom in demand for argan oil has had a meaningful social dimension in the region. Cooperative groups of Berber women formed over the past several decades have given thousands of rural women economic independence, turning what was once subsistence labor into access to international markets, making argan oil one of the rare luxury food products whose success has been genuinely redistributive.